Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're here at the Hollywood Museum in the fabulous Max Factor building, and I welcome all of you to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests are artist Bestat and composer Cyrus Melchor. Artist Bestat was born and raised as Sarah in the South and garnered honors on her graduating class in architecture at the University of Texas in, not Texas,
Tennessee.
University of Tennessee in Knoxville. But then you came to LA and she worked as an architect for a short while. Then she worked as an events coordinator, and then at Gemini, GEL, on Melrose. But before we get to where you were going, was there any architecture or anything, artists in your family?
No.
So you just ventured out in architecture. Why did you choose architecture?
I loved Legos growing up, and
Oh.
so it just made the most sense to me. And it really worked out because it was I really enjoyed school, and so it was a really good decision.
And then coming to LA from school?
Why did I come here?
Yes.
I'd never been anywhere. When I was in school, I studied abroad in Germany, and I had people asking me, what's California like, and what's New York like, and I
Because
had
you were from
no
the United
idea.
States?
Yes, and I couldn't tell them about my country, so I came home and I did a big trip around the States, and I fell in love with Los Angeles, and so a year later I moved out.
Oh, is that what you did? You did a little tour, a
did,
little
tour.
search.
Exactly.
Where am I going to go? And then how'd you get a job as an architect when you got here?
Goodness, when I first got here, we had dear friends that lived in Palm Springs that put us up for 3 months.
In the desert?
In the desert, and so we were driving in for 2 hours every day.
But there were some great mid-century houses in the desert.
It's a beautiful, in Indio and Palm Springs, there's some really gorgeous architecture. So it was a really actually fun period of time that we didn't know where we'd be, but
Did you think you were going to work as an architect at that point?
I did. School is just so creative, and they don't really tell you what it's actually going to be like when you're there and in it. And so I thought I would, because I thought it was going to be just this creative, kind of just like school was. And then I got my first job, and it was not like that at all.
What kind of job was it? What kind of firm was it?
I worked at Kovac Architects in
At where?
Kovac Architects on the west side, and it's a great firm. They do really, really beautiful projects in Los Angeles. They're very local, and it's pretty small, but still just the kind of day-to-day of it wasn't as creative as I had hoped it would be.
Yeah, why were you disillusioned? Because here you were, getting awards in the architecture school. Your thesis was great.
Yeah.
And you spent time now, I hear, in Palm Springs where there's wonderful architecture. Mm-hmm. And then you get a job, which is pretty cool, in LA.
Yeah.
And then you're disillusioned.
I am. It's just, I didn't realize you have to commit about 20 years, 20 hard years of designing someone else's vision and putting your time into someone else's ideas before you can kind of establish yourself as the creative director as a firm, of a firm or of anything. And I wasn't prepared for that time that you'd have to give. And so I was ready to start being creative right away.
You mean making a building?
Yeah, and making a building. And I mean, my thesis project was a graveyard. It was a drippy, creepy, I like emotive spaces, and I was designing houses, like just kind of not quite.
A drippy, creepy? Tell us about that. That's pretty interesting, because it was an award-winning thesis.
It was. We had a local graveyard that was kind of fallen into disrepair, and so they were no longer interring anyone there, so we were trying to find a new use for the space.
Very interesting. What kind of space? What did you do with the space in your thesis?
In my thesis, I made it into, so it was a kind of a cloister, I guess, and it became a bookmaking place except a bookmaking place in the sense of kind of all of the old rituals, so making the paper and printmaking the books, and so it was a very...
Like a publishing company.
Exactly, but very small and one-offs, and so the books kind of became very sacred. It was very much about the process. And
But that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sacred in the graveyard and all that.
Yeah.
And you never were able to realize that.
Well, I mean, nobody really wants to build a bookyard in a graveyard or a bookstore in a graveyard. But no, but that's the kind of stuff I love. And then you go to an architecture firm and they're not really talking about graveyard projects.
No, but one of the things that they do talk about is ordinances and going to in front of city councils and all that type of thing. Are you good like that?
I like to think I like to talk to people and I like the interaction there, but all of the rules that you kind of have to follow in the real world of architecture are not, I don't like. I'd like to break all the rules.
So do you think that they're in an architecture firm? You work right now for Tom Main, who is like a fantastic architect. He has a lot of buildings in Los Angeles.
He does.
And all over.
All over.
Actually, is there one in Dallas? What's the museum in Dallas?
The Perot Museum.
Yes, yes, I saw that. It's fabulous.
It's beautiful.
It's in Dallas, right? And my hotel room looked right out on it. So I got to see the school buses come in and out, and we went and visited. It's a wonderful space. But does he have certain people who do all that kind of ordinance work and going before city councils? And is
I'm
that
sure
you?
he does. Yeah, no, it's not me, thank God. I mean, gosh, Tom's been active in the city for 40 years, and so I think he put his time in with the city and doing ordinances.
And doing those kind of things.
But we do have people that kind of figure out all of the programmatic needs of the space and what we have to do to be up to code. And
do they have to be architects? Are they architects as well, or are they just?
So there are architects, and then there are architectural designers. And to be an architect, you have to be licensed, but you don't necessarily have to be an architect to go, to design it.
And what do you do at that?
At Morphosis, I am Tom's assistant.
Morphosis, right?
Yes.
And why did they name it that?
Gosh, you'll have to ask Tom. I don't know.
Well, he was going to come on one day, and he got sick. And
Maybe
so I've never had him on again.
Shout out, Tom Main.
Yes.
Come on.
This is, you probably called and canceled.
For him? Oh, I think that was before my time.
That was before, not too long ago. What buildings has he built or are in process while you're there right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, we're just opening 2 buildings. We just opened Emerson College on Sunset, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful building.
It's just down the street. Oh, that's right.
Yep, and it's been
very big.
It's very big, and it's been really well received. It's just a community for a really great school program.
That's fabulous,
beautiful.
right?
Yeah, and then Tom just attended an opening for Gates Hall up at Ithaca University. So.
Oh, in Ithaca? What kind of building does that look like?
Crazy, Tom Main style building.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We're so lucky to have him living here.
We are.
And having Frank Gehry here, too.
Yeah.
So we have great architects in Los Angeles, don't we?
We have great people in
Okay,
general.
we're talking about all this architecture, and you've led yourself away, and you've become a painter.
Yes.
Did you take painting at the university?
I didn't take painting. I took a printmaking class, and that class just changed my life. Just dealing with color and just the arts in general and kind of being able to break away with architecture, it's just so rigorous. And so, I don't know, you have to follow all the rules.
But are these architectural? Let's try. This one looks architectural to me. You have a building in it.
I mean.
What is this piece in it?
This is actually something, we at Morphosis get really wonderful materials library samples, and if they're not being used, I will run away with them.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a building, library. Something. So how do you start? This is all collaged?
It is all collaged. I have a horrible memory, and so I'll pick things from my day-to-day life that remind me of times or, occasions that I'd like to remember, and so I'll keep those close to me when I'm painting, and then kind of when a painting asks for something, I'll put in a memory.
And so tell us what's on here.
So I paint in kind of 2 types of objects. One of those is a type that kind of just adds texture and depth to a painting, so that when you walk around it, it kind of changes with you. So that's here, and then I have a mirror on this one, so it kind of becomes more interactive. And then some things like this little tiny spoon. I went olive oil tasting with my mom, and that was the samples that we got, was with the spoon. So it's like, they're of 2 types. And then everything else kind of...
Up here?
That is my friend was putting together, what are those things, those little books that you write memories in, and it's just a piece of paper that she was
Oh, it's a piece
using.
of paper. It looked like
It
looked like a hanky.
No.
I want to show the back of this because you sew.
I do. I sew a lot.
And you just go right through the canvas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me show it like this. I'm going to show it like that. And tell us about this piece, and then I'll turn it around.
Goodness, that piece. It's hard to say what happens. I kind
And
of
this
just
is the
start.
piece
Yep,
that you sewed on?
Yep, I sewed on. That's actually Tom. I stole this from you. Tom got invited to go to the Paris photo. You know, that happens every year and here. And he wasn't able to make it. He was out of town. But I just really liked the graphic of the card. So I stole it from him and I put it in the paint.
And you've stitched things on over here?
Yeah, there's a mirror in it just because I like, it's kind of a trick so that when you walk up to it, you see yourself in the painting and then you think it's more interesting because you're looking at yourself, you know. And so that's in there. And then just some like beautiful objects that I found. I found this really pretty gold, I think it's a microphone speaker. And so I sewed that in because it's cool.
Is it like repurposing things? Do you feel like you're saving the environment in any way?
Oh, no. Lord, no. I think I'm giving things maybe a prettier platform where they wouldn't be noticed before, or kind of making them more of a glorified object and giving them something
You
to
worked
say.
at Gemini, which is a great print shop in Los Angeles. Did that influence this work at all?
I think in a way it did. I think just being around that caliber of work and seeing the rigor and seeing, kind of being able to talk about art, because it's so many different things, and I was around so many different types and styles, and kind of seeing how
Because you have a
people,
lot of artists coming and going,
Oh
so they
my
have
gosh,
all
the
different
best.
styles, right?
Yes, all the best and the greatest, and so, and everybody kind of, all of the artists speak in their own language, and so getting to see how people's ideas come through in all of these different mediums, it was amazing.
So the other thing is you were an event planner, and all this work kind of reminds me of parties, like sparkly, and I'm wondering if that had some kind of influence on you.
I'm sure it did. I love glitter. I can't help it. It just makes everything a little bit more fun. So
I know,
I definitely party.
It looks like a party. And the other thing, before we leave, I know your name is Bestat.
Yes.
And that's street artists take those kind of names. And tell me if you do anything on the street or how you got that name.
I don't think I can sew on the street. That's a really big part of the process. So I don't do much.
Is it very important?
It's very important. I don't think I could do it if I couldn't sew.
And it's all by hand, not with a machine.
No, oh no, I could. Yeah, it's all by hand. Everything.
Okay.
And then the name, I wasn't expecting to change my name, but when I started painting, I guess I met a different side of myself that I didn't know before, and I felt like I was coming into a new era. And it might sound silly, but the name is derived from this Egyptian goddess, and her name is Bast, and she is the goddess of music and joy, and she's wonderful. She's the cat goddess in Egyptian culture.
B-E-S-T?
Or her name is Bast, B-A-S-T.
B-A-S-T.
And she's just kind of owns it, you know.
And you play music.
I play music and drink a little wine, and you know, I'm just really like, this is what I do, and I felt like, I don't know, I was kind of becoming a different person, not a different person, but really becoming myself.
So she was your goddess image.
Yeah, she was my goddess. So my name is derived from her name, and so Bestat is.
So we're not going to see
where I
Bestat on the street like
No.
Elmac or Shepherd Ferry.
Maybe, you never know.
No, you never know. You might glitter everything
Yeah,
up.
just threw some glitter bombs on some buildings. And
Sarah, thank you for being with us.
thank you for having me, Joe.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with Cyrus Melchor. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. As you know, we're taping here at the Hollywood Museum, and our guest is award-winning composer, musician, producer, Cyrus Melchor, who was born and raised in Hollywood, went to UC Santa Barbara, founded his studio, Mount Sinai, produced commercials for major brands like Nike and Coke, collected awards like the Clio, the AICP, and was inducted into MoMA's New York Hall of Fame, or whatever they do there. What do they do?
It usually goes with this AICP award show.
What is that,
And,
AICP?
It's the Association of Independent Commercial Producers.
That's it, because you were a great commercial producer. Or maybe you still are you?
I still do it, yeah.
You
yeah,
still
I still
do
do it. For sure. That's like, when people are musicians, they go, what's your day job, What record store do you work at or
Right.
whatever. I do music for commercials. That's what I do
Yeah,
during the
and
day.
that was big, good music. I saw some of those online. They're
thanks.
fabulous, really great. Was there music in your family?
Well, there's no musicians really in my family, but like I used to always think too, I was like, where did I get it from? But yeah, my mom fostered it really.
But how? Did she take you to musicals? Did she make you take lessons? What happened?
Yeah, we went to piano lessons when we were young. I was terrible. I didn't practice or
I
anything.
know.
I just wanted to noodle and stuff.
What music? What instruments did you play?
Piano, poorly. Like still.
Yeah,
Still.
but you still try.
Yeah, like I peck it in there. Guitar. That was kind of the one that I really was into.
Usually, kids like the guitar, right?
Yeah, because you rock out. Like that's where you get to play rock star. Like people play cowboys and Indians and stuff.
know.
So you're like, ah.
But do you make any music?
Yeah, and I was too. I had like a this old acoustic guitar, and I was so into heavy metal at the time that I made my own electric out of it.
That's what I saw. How'd you do that?
I just grabbed like an old headphone,
Yeah.
and like taped it to the guitar, and plugged
To a
it
regular guitar?
in. Yeah, it was this old Sears acoustic, and put the headphone on it and plugged that into the radio, and put the radio on full blast so that it would distort. So it was going, and I was like, I felt like I was doing heavy metal.
But you knew what you were doing. You knew you wanted to distort it. You
Yeah.
knew you wanted the loud music,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was taking that, like, the first time I did that, I was like, oh, yeah, and I started recording it,
Oh,
from
did you
cassette
too?
to cassette. So it was like multi-track recording. I was doing all this stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew what I wanted.
But how old were you then? Were you a teenager?
No, I was probably about, 10 or 11.
Oh, you were not even a teenager. What
Yeah.
happened when you got to your teen years when you knew how to do all this stuff?
I kind of like I started, I went from rock and roll, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd and stuff like that, into, and then the hair band started coming, and I got into it, but I was saved because I started getting into hip hop at that time.
Tell us about that part of it, because you talk about hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
How much is there in your background?
Well, yeah, I wanted to do, rock and roll all the time, and then, there's this, I just suddenly, like, fell into DJing because there was a party and the DJ, like, couldn't make it or something, and I was like, how much are they paying him? And they're like, $100. I was like, I can do that. I can do that. And I never did it before, but I went and did it, and I got paid $100.
But did you take your own stuff with you? What were they?
A pair of turntables.
You
I was
took the
able to muster up
turntables?
some
Yeah.
turntables. I had one, and then I borrowed one from a friend. And I just put it together, and then, borrowed records from people.
Another put it together. Is that what producers do? Did that give you all the background to be like a great producer?
Inadvertently, I guess, it's make do with what you have, and
So
that's
you
what it's
don't
always
need
about.
the best of everything, right? It looks
No.
like you don't need it.
No, you don't. You just have to have the perseverance and determination to see it through, whatever it is.
Right.
Let's see it through.
How aggressive were you on the music scene? Like we're talking, that's pretty aggressive, right?
Yeah, I've always been like, making the phone calls, dropping off demo tapes. Like this was like the 80s basically, like when I was a kid, and I was like
know.
hounding record labels and radio stations, and I was like 15 and I got on the radio.
You did. You got your first. Was that your first one?
Yeah.
First-
Well, hopefully it was my first one. I was 15. So.
I know, that was pretty cool. But do people come and do that to you now?
Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, there's a filter that's, installed.
Is
like,
that Mount Sinai? Is that your studio?
Yeah, it's my studio. And
How'd
it's
you
also
get that
like
name?
my band.
Your band too. You still have a band?
Yeah, it's not really a band. It's like my music project. I just call it that because, I don't know. It sounds better than just using my name. If I use my name, you'd expect guitar and, vocal or something.
Well, do you want to do that? Can you do that?
I'll do that at some point.
You can do it?
I'll do it at some point.
Where'd you get the name? It sounds like your own name.
Yeah.
It sounds like it came out of your name. somehow. I don't know.
Well,
why.
one day some guy just told me like, because I used to tag. I mean, I was into hip hop at some point, and so I started tagging, and I had a name, a tag name and stuff, which
What was
I
your
probably won't say.
You won't say?
I mean,
I don't know. Mount Sinai.
And that's what, well, somebody told me you should use cyanide,
Cyanide.
and
right.
so I don't know. I just mixed it up.
Did you ever get
like
caught?
With Mount Sinai. No.
You never got caught.
No.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Were you wearing earphones and music when you were tagging?
No.
No.
No. You
Because
gotta.
you have to be really.
Yeah. You can get lost in it, and but you want to, feel the thrill. You want to hear the footsteps. You want to hear it all.
Oh, that's part of it.
Yeah,
Does
yeah,
that actually, in your composing, that must be some kind of background for you? It must be an inspiration in a way.
I guess.
Because it sounds when you say that.
I just kind of like. You mean the adrenaline part of it?
Yeah. Or hearing the footsteps, or
Oh
that
yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
stuff.
sure, like the senses and
Right.
awareness and stuff like that, because I like to use a lot of like quiet in my stuff
Oh,
as
both
well,
ways.
and then build up tension. So yeah, I guess so.
When you went to UC Santa Barbara, did you study music?
Nope.
What'd
I
you
took one
study?
music class actually.
One? And
Yeah.
what was it?
Ethnomusicology.
Oh,
And it was good though. It opened my eyes to Middle Eastern and Indian music.
fantastic.
yeah.
And you do use that.
Yeah, I do.
You
I
just
was-
made an album with Nama Kate,
Nama Cates, yep.
and it had that ethnic background.
Yeah. I mean, there's like tablas in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, regarding that, like it did give me a different angle on music when I had to go to a
That's
lot of concerts
interesting.
and stuff, and at some point I ended up hooking up with Shankar, the violinist.
You did?
Yeah. So.
Were you
and
ever a
he's also-
violinist? You did
I
take
w- I
violin.
was.
You did, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I
So
was
at least
terrible, like really bad.
but you knew enough about it. You knew how to hold it. You knew what the strings were. So that's very good.
And I think that worked its way into where I'm at today. That and the hip hop and the metal stuff, like it's kind of all in there now.
Yeah,
with what I'm doing.
it is. So what was your first producing job?
Massive Attack on Virgin Records.
Was it?
Yeah. So that
And
was
then
in 91.
are those people still around?
Oh yeah, they're huge.
Are they
They're
huge?
massive. Yeah.
They're
they really
massive,
are,
and,
yeah.
and you did that was your first job.
Yeah.
How did you get these commercials? Because the commercials are really the thing, as you say, my day job.
Yeah. And it's funny. Like commercials used to be like people are like, oh, you can't make records, you make commercials. That's how it was before.
Exactly.
Now
like,
people
like you have
this-
no creativity.
Yeah, I mean that's what you would think, but it's so creative actually, like the emotion and I do whatever I want with that stuff. So I have a blast with it. But
You mean they let you do the music? What comes first? Do you do the music first, or do you see the commercial and then you write the music
I
to
see
the?
it.
You see it.
Yeah, they send it to me. So I usually watch it and then I go for a walk or a drive or something, and I keep it in my head, and that's when I break out my iPhone, and I kind of I don't know somehow it lines up every time. Like
You
I just
sing?
go blah, 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 yeah.
Do you sing to your
Yeah.
iPhone?
And then I send it to myself and I notate from there.
So what? That's pretty cool. What was the Coke one? What was that?
That was in 2006, I think.
So they're pretty recent. What
You're
did
talking
they
about the
do?
award one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. What was in that?
It was like a parade through a kid's mind.
Oh, yes, and then it gets quiet. Just what you said. You like to use that quiet.
Yeah, that one's a really numb, quiet type of commercial. Like, if you hear it outside of the commercial, you might be like, okay, what is this? Like, it doesn't really do much, but when you add it with the visual,
I was going to say the images are very impactful on the music, or the music's very impactful on the image.
Yeah.
Both ways.
when it works, it works.
It really, so I guess that's why you got an award, right? Because it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Do you do your own music, compose, and
Yeah, I compose everything. And then when I'm doing like orchestral stuff, I compose it in the computer, and then I bring in the players and put out the sheet music and all that. And
you
we
do?
have
Do
a
you write the
blast.
music? You can
Yep.
write the music too.
Yep.
What about this rock is it a rock orchestra and breakbeat? What does that mean?
That's the Mount Sinai stuff. That's
What does it
basically what I'm
mean?
saying when I bring everything together.
What is breakbeat?
Breakbeat is I mean that's the foundation of like hip hop music. They would take the break section in a old song where it's usually, you know, all the instruments pull out and the drummer just goes and he kind of solos. And then they would take that and loop it around, and that's what they would build their song off of. So I make my own break beats.
You
like,
do that.
Yeah.
I see. And you also make some of your own instruments. Obviously, you made your electric guitar when you were 8 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah, I'm making audio gear, like recording gear.
And how do you do that?
I mean, I started, like, I've been messing with gear all my life.
So it's nothing that you hold. It's not like you're holding an instrument that
No,
you've done. I see.
It's like the mixing console. And
I see.
yeah.
Well, do you think of ever composing a symphony or something like different from what you're doing now?
I mean, absolutely. Like, I would love to. Like, I mean, that's one of my goals. Hollywood Bowl is a goal.
I mean, really.
Disney Hall, like.
That's what I'm wondering. Can you have that kind of mentality to do something else
Absolutely.
like that?
I do write like that in my stuff.
You do?
Like, yeah. So even though, you know, it's kind of a futuristic version of that. Like, when people are writing, like, classical music now and you go, oh, that reminds me of Beethoven or something.
Yeah.
To me, that's just like, you know, revisionism or something.
Revisionism, right.
And I don't know, I'm utilizing all the types of music that have happened since then, 400 years ago, and writing in that type of, you know, like utilizing those kind of instruments, but with the new stuff and not copying anything. You know,
No,
just
so it's
trying to-
informing what you're doing now. The background is
Absolutely.
informing what you're doing now. And it's talking about informing what you're doing now. You were born here. You were like down the street practically in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You've just kind of made a full circle from Los Feliz and Hollywood back to the Hollywood Museum.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I've
is your
been
studio here too?
It's in Atwater Village.
Very
so,
close.
Yeah, real close.
So-
I just took Fountain all the way.
Yeah, you just done this whole thing. So thank you very much. I'm so
Thanks.
glad you came and talked to us, Cy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And keep writing, JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. We'll see you next time.